All right.
Yeah.
So we've talked about reasons for confidence. We've talked about reasons to be concerned. Before we get into our score predictions, what is one thing that the Rams must do if they want to win on Sunday?
Um, Man, there's definitely a lot more than one thing for them to have a shot in this game. But I think they got to get a pass rush on Brock Purdy. We were just
Mm,
talking about D line. We're talking about how great the Niners D line in, which it is. You talked about their one weakness being that right side. So maybe I'm copping out here with my answer, but you know Brock Purdy, I think, has proven that he's a solid quarterback at minimum in this league, and with potential upside there. You know a lot more than me. I think I haven't totally. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm buying into that he's a superstar yet because of
yeah.
all the weapons he has and just But the dude's proven he can win games and he can absolutely play in this league and run this system absolutely. And I think he's probably a little more mobile than given credit for. He can definitely evade pressure and get out of it. But, similar to Matthew Stafford, he's a lot younger, but similar to that, if you put pressure on him and stuff, and that's where things can potentially go awry. So if the Rams want any shot to slow this offense down, they're going to have to get pressure on him, even if it doesn't result in sacks, just, whether it's knockdowns or whether it's just pressures or whatever stat you want to use. At least if they're getting in his face somewhat and putting pressure, it can allow for those plays to not develop as much. And also just, Aaron Donald be like, hey, I'm still Aaron Donald. Like I'm still here in your face. Watch out. I'm coming for you every single play. Get used to seeing me and my big paws around you. So that's probably, if you're asking me the one thing, it's gotta be, they got to have some sort of pass rush and put pressure on Brock Purdy.
Did you get a kick out of Geno Smith and what was coming out of his mouth this last week when Aaron Donald was anywhere near him? I mean, he was freaking out. He's like, oh, dropping F bombs and literally in the middle of plays, just cussing every time Donald got near him. I don't know if you saw that, but that actually made me laugh.
Oh yeah. I mean, not to go back and talk about that, but I love Geno's story. I'm happy for him. Happy he got
Yeah.
paid. I still don't understand how all of a sudden he became like a top 3 NFC quarterback after the season he had. Like he had a good start. It was fun, but his last 4 games were abysmal. Like he was old Gino. Like I don't know how he came into this year and all of a sudden he's this like bona fide star in the NFC West. I don't get that, but anyway, that's old news.
Well, I did the Seahawks behind enemy lines, and that was like the big topic of debate for actually 2 shows that we did. And I was like, I actually believe that Gino can play well again, and I'm not going to write him off after 1 game, but he's in that category to me of guys that are not top 10, and maybe they can, masquerade around for a year to be a top 10 guy, but they're not truly top 10 players that when you give big money to, you're really kind of hampering your team. Like those are guys that you shouldn't pay top 10 quarterback money because you're going to put your team or your franchise behind the 8 ball. And I think he fell into that. And so that was like the big debate between he and I. We'll see how he bounces back, but I wouldn't have paid him that kind of money if I'm Seattle. That's just me, but I don't know what their other options were. You know what I mean? So what are you going to do? But yeah, anyways, that's for another day. That being said, what do the 49ers need to do? What is their one must do if they're going to win this game? I would have to say make the Rams one-dimensional. I was actually pleasantly surprised that the Rams really did what they could to establish the run game. I mean, even if it wasn't working at times, they stuck to it. And that has not been the case with the Rams the last few years. They have almost completely abandoned the run game at times and force themselves to be one dimensional. I mean, they've really played in the
How
hands
many
of a
times have
lot
I
of
told you that?
defenses.
How many
Yeah, you
times
would
have I
know
told
you.
you that?
Yeah, you have. You really have. And they were able to get a Super Bowl out of it, which is fantastic. But last year we saw how that didn't go too well. This year it seems like they've put emphasis on going back to establishing the run. And even if it's not working, being able to work play action off of that versus just putting Matthew Stafford in gun and going 5 wide and like that's what you have to do, especially for a quarterback who has a history of injury. If you want to keep him upright, if you want to help out your offensive line, you have to establish the run and you have to protect your quarterback. And That's what the 49ers have to stop this weekend. They have to make sure that they do not allow them to establish the run. They have to jump on them early, much like they did Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, only had 13 rushing attempts or somewhere close to that. And that's what Pittsburgh wanted to do as well. They wanted to run the ball. They wanted to establish the run, but they couldn't. It was too fast that the 49ers opened the floodgates. I think the 49ers need to do that again. If they get deep into a third quarter and the Rams are feeling comfortable in the run game and this game's a one-score game and you've got Matthew Stafford back there, I don't feel comfortable that it's a for sure win. I don't necessarily think we get to that point, but that's what the 49ers have to avoid, in my opinion, if they want to make sure that they win this game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and just to counter that, not even counter, but agree with that. Like, if the Rams have no pass rush, and if they run the ball less than 25 times, they're not winning this game. I mean, they have to commit to the run, whether it's working or not. And I say all the time, Jesse, like, I'm not ever going to sit here and pretend like I know more than these NFL coaches. I'll never disrespect them like that. They deserve all the respect in the world. But there are times when it's like, guys, we're 8 minutes into the game. Why are we just abandoning the run? Like, what are we doing here? Like, the whole defense then knows that. And the Rams and McVay have done that many times. You just mentioned Pittsburgh, and I know Pittsburgh got in the 8-ball quick, but the last thing you want to do as a team with as potent as an offense as Niner have is just keep giving the ball back quickly without your defense getting any blows. And so even if the run game isn't working, you're at least like, you're giving your defense some time to catch their breath, and maybe you go 3 and out, or maybe you get a, one first down, but then you punt and don't score, but at least you're taking some time to let your defense rest. And that then builds you up for the next drive to do something. And so they got to have 25 plus rushes to even have a shot in this game.
Yeah. Trent Williams actually came out after the game, believe it or not, and was like, the Steelers went 3 and out so many times in a row that I was winded, and I was hoping that they could get a first down because I didn't want to go back on the field. Like, that's how bad it got in that game. And they couldn't establish the run, and the 49ers jumped on them, and it got bad very, very quickly for them. So I think that's what the 49ers would prefer to do. Definitely that's what I would prefer to see happen. Like I said, Pickett's one thing. Can he take a leap this year? We'll see. But Matthew Stafford, I have a ton of confidence in, and I don't want to see the 49ers be in a close game with the ball in his hands and a chance to win. I wouldn't be confident in that. That's just me personally. So,
yeah,
I don't think it can get there.